Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cancer New Moon Festival. We welcome those physically present at the office, and we welcome those who are participating through Zoom. Due to some rather extenuating circumstances, this Cancer New Moon Festival is being broadcasted from Accra, Ghana, in West Africa. And such is our advancement in the world that this is possible at all. And through the application of that lighter substance that we call the internet. Again, welcome to the Cancer New Moon Festival. Let's begin by sounding the mantra which is usually used for the destruction of glamour. Radiance, we are empowered. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the heavens and the earth, the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus, with the light we work and turn the darkness into light. The topic for this Cancer New Moon Festival today is rebuilding the world with light, the substance of things hoped for. At the full moon festival, we let in the light. And now, at the new moon, we seek to employ that light in practical service to the plan. The keynote of Cancer particularly enjoins us to build a lighted house and therein dwell. For aspirants and disciples in the new age, the building of this lighted house may be defined or considered as the preparation for the reappearance of the Christ, and finds its application commencing especially in 2025 in the employment or use of the will to good as essential love in all and every aspect of human life. The human unit has been defined as inherently a grounded sphere of light and power in a treatise on white magic by the Tibetan. In a sense, we are therefore already endowed and equipped with what we need in this work of rebuilding. Of course, the inherent light and power are increasingly available to us, and all aspirants and all disciples, according to our strenuous and dedicated efforts, understanding, and persistence in service to the plan, the one work. The Tibetan tirelessly also emphasizes that Our 7 planes are the 7 subplanes of the cosmic physical plane. He makes this constant emphasis in order to illumine our minds of the fact that all that we contact are energies and forces. And above all, these energies and forces are substantial. They are substance to be used in solving the problems of humanity and the world through the employment of the mind. And it is one of these substantial energies, the energy of light, that the keynote of Cancer particularly directs us and enjoins us to employ as we participate in this most creative endeavor, incarnations after incarnations until now, when we are reaching a long awaited climax to the preparation for the reappearance of the Christ as we approach the 2025 hierarchical centennial. The study of light in science and the experiments in physics have revealed light to be a spectrum of electromagnetic waves of energy, in which our everyday familiar visible light only constitutes a tiny band within the spectrum of other lighted energies. Experiments in the laboratory have demonstrated that when the 7 major colors, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red, are equally distributed on the disk, which is then subjected to a rotation, the 7 differently colored surface of the rotating disk appear as white. It is also shown that when white light is passed through a glass prism, the reflected and refracting light break up into the 7 major colors, indicating and demonstrating light to be composite in nature and simultaneously a synthesis of other energies as well. Relating the above to the 7 rays might help us to appreciate that light is a vast constituent of a multitude of energies. These vast manifold expressions of lighted energies are the working resources and tools abundantly available using the directing, disciplined, controlled, and intelligent mind, which is increasingly becoming the meditative mind. In one of the creation stories or myths found in the Christian Bible, in Genesis, the first book of the Old Testament, God, or the Elohim, summoned light into manifestation. And through this divine act, the Elohim provided all that was needed to carry out the whole of the great creative work and to fulfill the purpose for which the worlds were made under the directing potency of the will to good. This light is abundantly available to aspirants and disciples more than ever before. And this is what we seek to work with, to fulfill the injunction inherent in the keynote of Cancer. I build a lighted house and therein dwell. Such is the spiritual progress, growth, and development made by humanity that everywhere today it is increasingly and with great acceleration dawning on the minds and in the hearts of a fast growing number of aspirants and disciples that the house mentioned in the keynote of Cancer is not only your house or my house or our houses or any other house, however one may interpret the word house, but that today the meaning of that lighted house has expanded and grown to represent a more matured and inclusive symbol, which is the world as a whole. To build a lighted house, therefore, is to build the lighted world. The Tibetan revealed the spiritual significances of the 5 planetary centers and gave us their corresponding keynotes. May we not also advance the idea that he gave us indirectly or by implication, perhaps 5 expressions of the activities and the workings of light? 5 great and qualified substantial energies for use and application in the preparation for the reappearance of the Christ. And when we have employed all of them, we would have created the necessary conditions which will make the reappearance inevitable in a way almost directly demanding of the Christ to reappear. The successful employment of the 5 substantial lighted energies pouring through the 5 planetary centers, invoked and evoked by meditating on their keynotes and sounded thoughtfully with aspiration and even verbally throughout the threefold world of human endeavor, transmute and transform and transfigure, enrich and align with transcendent potency, which then lifts all efforts and help achieve that preordained stage, which is the goal set for humanity, and whose attainment will constitute humanity's fulfillment of the law of service. Long ago, humanity as souls acquiesced and undertook the task of salvaging and redeeming the prisoners of the planet, and achieving and bringing about the preordained conditions that will usher in the jurisdiction of the Christ on earth. Of this task, humanity is solely responsible, and the hierarchy, the kingdom of God, can only aid indirectly by way of proffering inspiration, which we are told they do abundantly by energizing the 5 planetary centers: London, Darjeeling, New York, Geneva, and Tokyo. To re-emphasize, the energies exiting these centers are the lighted substantial energies at our disposal for rebuilding the world. The centers and their corresponding energies are as follows: London, conveying the Shambhala forces, producing unimpeded relationship and intelligent justice. Darjeeling, producing enlightened social structures and the elimination of old age practices of illusion, glamour, and Maya. New York, outpouring the energies for the establishment of right human relationships, producing cooperation and sharing. From Geneva, outpours integrating energies, integrating further the whole of Europe, East and West, and cooperating with Russia. And from Tokyo, outpours the energies for enlightened trade and enlightened economic structures. Reflection on these lighted creative energies reveal how comprehensive, inclusive, and all encompassing they are in meeting and providing all that is needed for humanity's task of preparing the world for the reappearance of the Christ. Let us now do our meditation. Strengthening the hands of the group of world service. This is the meditation we use at the time of the new moon. Group fusion. I am one with my group brothers, and all that I have is theirs. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage them. Alignment. We recognize our place as a group within the heart center of the group of world servers. Mentally extend a line of lighted energy towards the spiritual hierarchy, the planetary heart center, to the Christ, the heart of love within the hierarchy, and towards Shambhala, where the will of God is known. meditation, higher interlude. Hold the mind focused for few moments on the planetary role of the group of world service, mediating between hierarchy and humanity, responding to hierarchical impression, and meditating the plan into existence. Meditation. Reflect on the seed thought through the impression and expression of certain great ideas. Humanity must be brought to the understanding of the fundamental ideals which will govern the new age. This is the major task of the group of world service. Precipitation. Visualize the precipitation of the will to good, essential love, throughout the planet, from Shambhala through the planetary heart, the hierarchy, through the Christ, the group of world servers, through all men and women of goodwill everywhere in the world, and finally, through the hearts and minds of the whole human family. Lower interlude. Consider the many ways in which the power of the one life and the love of the one soul are working out in the world through members of the group of world servers. So, building the thought form of solution to world problems. distribution. As the great invocation is sounded, visualize the irradiation of human consciousness with light and love and power. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it fill the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you. Now, we have reached the part where we discuss our ideas. To guide us through that discussion, let us consider a simple question. What does light signify to you in terms of solving the problems of humanity today? What does light signify to you in terms of solving the problems of humanity today? This light is expressing itself through the internet, which has essentially united the world. This light has speeded up our communications. This light is pouring into the dark places of the world, into the dark places of our actions, and revealing that which has been hidden. with sometimes unpleasant consequences and evoking sometimes confusion, distortion, and illusions. But in that revealing light, we shall see a greater light. That greater light turns the darkness into the day of spiritual opportunity. So, what does light signify to you in terms of solving the problems of humanity today?
Thanks so much, Emmanuel. I have just a brief thought on that, but I just want to thank you so much for your presentation today. I thought it was really insightful, and for that meditation as well. It's a very good question. What role does light play on in solving humanity's problems today? I think I think as we all know that light can symbolize a number of many different things in esotericism. It can represent knowledge, it can represent the soul, et cetera, et cetera. With regard to this question, though, and especially in relation to cancer and to our meditation we just did, the thought that comes to mind is clarifying of the question of where does light emit from and where is it directed to? So the question of what really is the subject and what really is the object of that light. I think people think of the problems of humanity today, and most people have a sense that there's a lot of things that need to be healed in our world. There's a lot of glamours that need to be dispelled, a lot of things to be overcome. And the tendency is to say, well, this over here is good, this over here is bad. But that can quickly become a purely exoteric designation. The type of discrimination which we're I guess, challenge to employ as on the discipleship path is one of more of a spiritual discrimination. So it's not what is good, what is bad so much. Of course, that's part of it, but it's what is truly spiritual and what is it exactly that and how exactly does that light need to shine in order to have redemptive effect?
Very interesting thought that the discrimination that you are indicating has been highlighted by the Tibetan when he says that a lot of aspirants and disciples are not responding to the type of discrimination that you just mentioned between what is truly spiritual and what only appears to be spiritual. When we mention the will to good as essential love, so the love is essentially the will to good. And that will to good is universal, concerned with the whole, and we are told that energy is pouring through London, the Shambhala energy, the Shambhala force, to produce unimpeded relationship. So then the disciple, the aspirant, has to vehemently and carefully reject all separatism, all separateness, that which divides, and constantly refocus on the whole, on all, on the universal. Talking about the universal, the Tibetan defined universality in glamours, the world challenges, where it says universality constitutes illumination, understanding, and love as the life expression of God Himself.
We have a hand from Steve Nation.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, Emmanuel.
Hello.
Good to hear you from Accra. That's wonderful to have this broadcast coming from Accra. I think that's fabulous. It's an interesting question. What's the significance of light? Just my response to that immediate response is that right now, and really for the period since the World War, since the end of the World War, it's light that is revealing ideas, the ideas that totally transform the way in which humanity is experiencing life. So for me, the greatest evidence of light in the world is the energy that surrounds the idea and the understanding of wholeness, the wholeness of life, the sort of oneness of life, and the way in which that idea of relationship between parts and wholes is seeping into every area of life, and it's certainly seeping into policies and programs. So to me, that's evidence of the shining of light.
Thank you, Steve. Important words, policies and programs. The light seeping into policies and programs. When this is consummated, then the keynote of the London Center Unimpeded Relationships will be becoming a reality. Unimpeded relationship. When the whole, all the parts in the whole are related. You cannot touch one part without affecting the whole. When we just visualize, imagine a world in which you cannot touch any part, however small, without affecting the whole. Unimpeded relationship. Unimpeded by Maya, unimpeded by glamour, unimpeded by illusions. And we see a physical happening with the internet, where groups are, through policies and programs, helping to bring about a situation in which everybody, every student, every child, everybody, those in distant countries, villages and everything, getting access to this internet. Physical effort at achieving unimpeded relationship with the whole through policies and programs under the influence of ideas which have transformed, as Steve said, the whole world since the last World War. Thank you, Steve.
There's one hand here. Peter Luxriel, go ahead. Peter, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. No. Maybe it's audio settings. Here, Peter, we'll come back to you in a moment, okay? Maya, did you have something?
Yes. Thank you, Emmanuel. That talk was so inspiring. I think trying to frame things in terms of light at this time when humanity's starting to really develop etheric sight, and we can look at things in terms of light. And also when we think of the idea that energy follows thought, then we have to really consider how we're working with light. And like Michael said, what it is and how it's influencing things, how we're directing that light. And what inspired me tonight was thinking of it in the context of masonry, because I'm a co-mason, and we're just coming from Gemini, and now we're moving into Cancer. And Gemini rules masonry. It's about the two great lines of force. It's about energy and thought and how we work with it, and how we as builders will build this lighted house for humanity, as you described, the world house, the house for humanity, and not just an individual house or the house for your town or your city or your state or your nation or your continent, or whatever way you identify your people, your tribe, but really the tribe of humanity. And thinking of it in terms of building, as Masons, we also, because we sometimes talk about the will of God or God as the great architect of the universe, I like to think of it the way an architect does, in terms of the plan, or the plan, and then the planning, like you were saying. We have to sketch out the plan for, or the planning of how we're going to implement the plan. And then we have to gather our materials, and then we figure out how we're going to implement that plan. And so that's how we bring that energy of thought down and direct energies or direct matter to manifest the plan. So some people find themselves drawn to one aspect. They like meditating on the plan and communicating that to people. Others like to think about how they can use planning to implement that. And then others feel called to be out and building materially, physically in the world with programs and implementing. And I think we all can find our place in that process of using thought to direct energy. And what inspires you, what ignites you, what excites you, what attracts you, and just get out there and start building. And that's when I think of this seed thought for Cancer: build a lighted house and therein dwell, or that we get out there and start building in whatever way we feel inspired to.
Thank you very much, Maya, for this practical application of the ideas.
Emmanuel, shall we try Peter again? See if he's
Yes,
found.
yes,
Excellent. Can you hear me now?
yes.
Perfect. Similar to what Maya said, I guess we're on the same wavelength. Esoterically speaking, sound and light is the first principle after the primordial Om from the great central sun. And then we have vibration and we have form. So when sound descends into light, creates vibrations and then creates the form that we experience in the three-dimensional plane. Why is light relevant is the first principle before it becomes qualified or misqualified by human, and like Maya said, thought forms. and feeling forms. The point really, and she spoke practically, is that when the light descends from the crown into the pineal and gets into the heart center, it's supposed to then ascend back into the pineal and be pictured into the material dimension without going into the lower dimensions, without going into the lower energy centers. So it's not misqualified by the egoic thoughts. And I believe that that's the call for the new group of world servers to be able to take that sound that is coming from the great central sun and is the impulse for evolution, essentially, ushering us into the new golden era, and propagate that sound into the physical dimension in order to foster or expedite, accelerate evolution on our planet and take us into the fifth dimension. And to your point, Michael, as well, Emmanuel, that we're seeing that there is the establishment of the inner connection. Essentially, the outpicturing of the internet is the outpicturing of the inner connection, creating relationships amongst different groups in different parts of the world. But the significance of light, essentially, is that it's that first principle that is not misqualified by human thought forms, and so it's pure and perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for your extension on the applications of the light, both individually and in group 4. There is sometimes a beguiling, deceptive power of doing something physically versus using, we are told, the most potent energy of mind and work on mental levels. But as aspirants and disciples, like Michael said earlier, there's a need for discrimination in the use of the light. There are places where the laborers are plenty, and there are places where the laborers are very few. And one has to consider where to lay his or her emphasis. The Tibetan gave us a great formula: energy follows thought. And then it continues and says, and the eye that is opened by that thought directs that energy in motion. Therefore, when we are strenuous in our meditation, a group eye opens, eye of light, which begins to direct the incoming powerful energies. And this kind of work is not as impressive because it is not easily seen by many. It's not easily written about. It's not easily published. But like Steve said of the ideas, these are what have actually and are actually transforming and transfiguring, transmuting the world into a lighted world house in which we dwell. Thank you very much. If there are no other questions, the Cancer new moon is tomorrow, exactly at 6:32 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And then the Festival of Cancer full moon will be on Wednesday, July 9th at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So we come to the end in preparation of the exact time tomorrow morning as we continue in the journey of light with the substance of light towards rebuilding a lighted world. Thank you very much. The Leo New Moon meditation meeting will be Tuesday, July 23rd. So the Festival of Cancer will be July 9th, and the new moon, Leo New Moon, will be July 23rd. Both of them at 6 p.m. Thank you.